Well, good morning. It's morning for some, and it could be afternoon for others, depending upon where you are listening to the Estrogen Chronicles from. Hello, ladies. I'm so happy to be here to talk to you this morning or just simply today. And I'm hoping that you have enjoyed your weekend. And can you believe that next weekend is Thanksgiving? Oh my goodness. I cannot believe that. Um, Time is ticking and it's not waiting for anyone. Not at all. So it should be interesting for us to enjoy ourselves on Thanksgiving with our family and our friends. So I'm hoping that you definitely have that time off because I know some people actually work on Thanksgiving. So I'm hoping that you take that time off to spend time with your family and your friends because that's so much a part of us as women. Taking the time and, self-reflecting and enjoying good talks and good eats. So that's the one time that I think we can do a little cheating. Like I say, it's that 80-20, right? 80%, healthy and 20% not so healthy sometimes, right? So let's enjoy that coming up. So, I always tell you guys that you are simply beautiful because you definitely are beautiful to me. And I say that because as women, we are the most important aspect of the society. We are the most important aspect of our families. And, we make the world go round. Let's be honest and let's be proud about that and not let anyone tell us any different, right? So I'm a stickler for that. So you embrace yourself, embrace who you are as a woman and what you do every single day. And if no one appreciates you and if no one even lets you know how beautiful you are, I hope that I'll be the first because that's exactly what you are. So you are listening to the Estrogen Chronicles. Her Plate, Her Power. I am your host, functional nutritionist, Gail Thorpe, and I'm here at your service. I'm also your health detective to get to the root cause and the bottom line of what's going on with your health, right? That's what I do. So what I want you to do now is grab your pen and your paper. I want you to also grab your tea and your coffee. I always say you can have a little glass of wine too, not too much. And I just want you to relax and I want you to sit back and enjoy each session. So today we're going to talk about hypertension in women. So many people have high blood pressure. But for women, it takes on a whole different vibe, right? So we're going to talk about that today and some of the things that we can do to help with this problem. What exactly is hypertension, people may ask? Well, first of all, it is what I just mentioned. It's high blood pressure. It basically means that the force of blood is pressing against the artery walls and is constantly too high. Okay? Now, over time, what this can do is strain your heart, your blood vessels, and your kidneys and your brain. And I think that, hypertension or high blood pressure has often been tagged as a silent killer because you know what? Sometimes you have symptoms and sometimes you don't. So can you imagine if you don't have any symptoms that every single day you have this pushing up against your artery walls that's constantly too high? And then it starts to strain your heart. It strains your blood vessels and your kidneys and your brain. And those are some very important functions that we need to be able to function every day of our body, right? So keep that in mind, ladies. Keep that in mind. Now, with women, hypertension is often under-recognized, especially before menopause, and can show up differently compared to men. You see, we are a whole nother ball game, right? So statistically, roughly 1 in 3 women have hypertension. Now, after age 60, women can actually surpass men in hypertension rates, right? So women with hypertension have a higher risk of stroke than men with the same blood pressure levels. So not only do they get more money than us a lot of times, we actually can surpass them in having strokes and having hypertension. So that's not a fun thing. I laugh sometimes and things, but I'm very serious about this particular message to get across. So now pregnancy-related hypertension, which is preeclampsia or gestational hypertension, affects 5 to 10% of pregnancies and increases lifetime hypertension risk. Okay? So we have to really pay attention, ladies. Pay attention. So with hypertension, as I mentioned, it being a silent killer, but some women, if they have signs, here are some of the things that you're going to have. You're going to definitely go through having headaches, especially in the morning. You're going to go through having dizziness or lightheadedness. You'll also start to experience vision changes. You start feeling flushed. You may have palpitations in your heart. You have shortness of breath, and then you may have fatigue. Okay? Now, keep in mind, though, these are some of the symptoms that you may have. And some women will feel nothing at all, which is why screening is so crucial, right? Okay? Because, again, some women know their bodies and some women don't. I know my body. I can tell when something is off. I can always tell it. I'm happy I can, because sometimes if you don't know your body, you don't pay attention to your body, you don't pay attention to what's going on, then things start to happen, right? So we must always we must, whenever we feel any different about anything, we want to take a look at what that could be. And I often tell you, and you hear me say this, I think in every episode, that we talk about some of these symptoms and other things, right? And other conditions. So it's really hard to know which is which. But how we can know is through screening, and how we can know is taking ourselves to get reviewed, a checkup of some sort, so we can make sure that we're not going to get it to a point where it's out of control. Okay? So now when I talk about men, how they already take over when it comes down to getting paid, they get paid a lot of times higher than we do. They actually, in this case, we surpass them, especially after menopause. We surpass them when it comes down to hypertension and having possible strokes. I think I talked to you a few episodes ago, about how heart disease in women is running rampant. Right? And this is pretty much part of that category. So now the differences, okay? With women, we have unique risk patterns. So, hormone influence. So, for instance, estrogen is naturally protective. So, after menopause, that protection drops. Now, you heard me talk about when it comes down to going through menopause. One of the things that happens is that we start to lower, our estrogen starts to lower, okay? So before that time, we have higher estrogen in our body. So our risk of having strokes and things of this nature, not to say you can't have one still, but the risk of that is not as bad as it is after menopause. So keep that in mind, okay? Medication response. For instance, with women may experience more side effects from ACE inhibitors and ARBs. Okay? Different dose responses and higher risk of low sodium with certain diuretics that we may have or take. Cardiovascular risk. Women with hypertension face higher stroke risk, as we're talking about. Higher heart failure with preserved ejection fraction and more vascular stiffness after menopause. Okay? So again, before menopause, because of the estrogen is higher, which protects. Okay? But after menopause, it no longer protects as much because we have a lower rate of estrogen. So we have to really start to think about that, ladies, as we get older and as we start going through menopause and reaching that age. We want to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves just as more or even more, right? Because of these different risk factors that can actually arise with us. So we want to keep that in mind. So you want to start early. You want to start early taking care of yourself so that when you reach the point where the estrogen is lower and you don't have as much protection in your body of prevention of strokes and other things with your heart, because you've taken care of yourself, that you're also decreasing your risk of these things. Okay? So prevention is key. Unique triggers, for instance, so oral contraceptives, pregnancy, PCOS, menopause, autoimmune conditions, of course, is more common in women. Okay? These are the things that make it different for men versus women. But I just want to repeat one thing again that's really important. Okay? We have more side effects from ACE inhibitors and ARB. So that is so important. That is so important, right? So when we're taking any type of medications or anything of that matter, when it comes down to our heart, we have more of a risk. Okay? So keep that in mind. Now, with all of this being said, I always like to bring up the fact of when is the time to see your doctor. So, when you have readings of 140/90 or higher more than once, because sometimes our pressure can go up if we see something or somebody makes us extremely mad, and it could just be a one-time affair. But if it's happening pretty often, okay, we need to go see our doctor. If you're pregnant and your blood pressure is higher than 130/80, we need to go see our doctor. If you're planning a pregnancy and you have hypertension, you want to definitely go see your doctor because of preeclampsia, okay? And that gives you a higher risk of having that during pregnancy. So you want to definitely make sure to see your doctor. If you experience any type of chest pain, severe headaches, vision changes, or even shortness of breath, okay, you want to make that appointment right away to see your doctor. And of course, if you have risk factors like obesity, PCOS, family history, or preeclampsia history, you want to see your doctor. So this way they can monitor you. They can monitor you. That's what's important. Okay? Now, some of the things when you go to the doctor, they're going to definitely go and take a look at your blood pressure reading. It's good to have a monitor at home if you are definitely a risk factor. So this way you can have multiple times of monitoring of different readings. And you can bring that to the doctor's office, and that will help him to determine if you really have hypertension, high blood pressure, or was that a 1 or 2 time incident. Okay? You'll also get some blood tests. And the blood tests will be kidney function, electrolytes, blood sugar, lipids. All of these things will be tested as well, because what did I say? It affects the kidneys. And you don't want to spend your life on dialysis. Okay? So this is important. You'll also get a urine test, which they want to determine how much protein is in your urine. You're also going to probably get an ECG or an echocardiogram to test for any type of heart enlargement or even heart strain. You'll also have a kidney ultrasound. Now, this is if secondary causes are suspected. Okay? And hormone testing. So if you have PCOS, menopause, or adrenal, if that's suspected, these issues, then you will have hormonal testing. Okay? So keep that in mind. Now, some of the treatments really depends on the severity. Okay. Lifestyle changes. Hello, hello. That's what I'm here for. Making those lifestyle changes. That is the most important thing. That's numero uno. It's making lifestyle changes. Lifestyle changes like exercise, what you're eating, decreasing stress. That type of lifestyle changes can literally eradicate and prevent hypertension, which is also high blood pressure. So lifestyle changes is one of the first things that the doctor is going to recommend. Now, if it's too bad, if it's too high, and it's for too long, based upon some of your readings, hopefully, if you're at risk and you're monitoring at home, there's going to be medications he's going to recommend. So ACE inhibitors, right? And remember I just told you that we have a harder time with the ACE inhibitors. So we don't want to be necessarily want to have to go on those things, right? ARBs, calcium channel blockers, diuretics, and beta blockers, okay? And these things, especially with no protection from estrogen, it's not going to be our friend, ladies. It's not going to be our friend, especially over time. So we have to be very careful because we're going to start getting side effects. God forbid if we end up with a stroke, these things can possibly happen. All right. And also, if there is any type of underlying hormonal imbalances, we'll have to have treatment for that. And then, of course, most important, stress management. All right, which is huge for women. Huge. So a stress management plan, which is going to be important. Because, like I often tell you, stress and us ladies, it's not our best friend. But unfortunately, a lot of times, we process our stress way different than men. And again, I'm not saying that men are not under stress because they are. A lot of times they're the head of the household. They have a lot of responsibilities to think about and do in a day. But we process our stress differently because we tend to internalize our stress. We may be going through so many things. It could be things with our marriage or our relationships, period. With our children, we may be working and our jobs are stressful. We also are experiencing stress when it comes down to, just overall, just trying to make it each day. And we tend to internalize it. That tends to be the big difference there, because as women, we internalize it. How many times have you felt so many things within your spirit, within your whole being? And, you woke up and you just felt stressed out. You felt like the weight of the world was on your shoulders. You go to work and then someone will say to you, "Hey, Karen, are you okay?" "Oh yeah, I'm fine. I'm okay." That's internalized it, because of course you probably don't want to talk to Karen and tell her with all that's going on with you. If anybody, for that matter, you don't want to talk to. So you tend to internalize that stress and hold it in. And we're known for that. We are known for that. So that's where we have a big problem. Internalizing that stress, living a sedentary lifestyle where we can't even get it out and working out, is where we're definitely heading for a big fall. Okay? So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. So we have to now realize that we have to be careful with these different stress factors that can, if we happen to have hypertension, what can affect us. We now know that certain medications can affect us a little bit more, harmful for women than it is for men. So we don't want it. We don't want that hypertension. We don't want high blood pressure. We want to get rid of it. Okay? So there is also hormone and hypertension connection with women. Like I mentioned, estrogen. Right? And that helps us support flexible arteries. It helps to regulate salt balance. And after menopause, right? Our blood pressure actually increases due to blood vessel stiffness, right? Okay? Because again, the estrogen is lower after menopause. So we're starting to get all of these different things that can happen to us. But when we have good estrogen, it helps us support the flexibility of our arteries. It helps to regulate the salt balance better. Okay? Also, with the estrogen, it helps to regulate your progesterone. It has a mild diuretic effect, right? And low progesterone can definitely among women. We're talking about stress and perimenopause. It may worsen our blood pressure, our cortisol, which is our stress hormone, right? Again, having high stress, chronic stress absolutely brings the blood pressure up higher. And as I mentioned, as women, we carry emotional stress internally, which is a higher psychological impact. It affects our insulin and our PCOS. Insulin resistance increases blood pressure. PCOS increases lifetime hypertension risk. Okay? So these are things that, when it comes down to our hormones and hypertension, is the connection. Is absolutely the connection. So now that we've talked so much about a little bit of doom and gloom a little bit when it comes down to hypertension in women, let's talk about some things that we can do. That we can do to make things better. So definitely some of the best exercises that you can do as women for hypertension. Well, first of all, you want to start gently and build steadily. Brisk walking. At least 20 to 30 minutes daily of that. And my thing, I wonder if you guys know what my thing is. It's dancing. So again, dancing is just a beautiful thing. It's a great way to lose weight. It's a great way to feel happy, release those endorphins, and it's fun. So dancing is a great exercise for hypertension. Pilates or barriere, right? Swimming or aqua aerobics, great. Yoga, which is great for cortisol lowering. Cycling. Doing some strength training at least 2 to 3 times a week. Okay? But you want to avoid that if your blood pressure is out of control. Okay? Heavy straining and heavy lifting you want to avoid. You want to avoid high intensity interval training until the blood pressure actually stabilizes. Because we don't want to put any extra strain on our heart. Because remember what I mentioned earlier. All of that is pushing through your vessels. Okay? That pressure. So if you're heavy lifting and doing heavy straining and high intensity interval training, what do you think is going to happen? It's going to bring your blood pressure up higher. So before you do that, you want to make sure and take your blood pressure, make sure that it's stabilized, and then you can talk about with your doctor if that's something that you can do. But I definitely wouldn't, especially if you're having high blood pressure pretty often, if your numbers are high, I would definitely hold back on doing that type of training, because it's just not gonna, it's gonna make things worse. So we want to make sure have it stabilized for a little bit before we go back to that type of training, or if it's our first time. Okay? Now we're going to talk about taking back our plate, the foods that we want to stay away from, and the foods that are going to help us. So foods that are bad for hypertension. I know, I'm almost certain you guys probably have an idea. These are foods that we want to try to either eradicate or definitely minimize, because it's not going to help us with our high blood pressure. So fast foods, cured meats like bacon, ham, and sausage. high sodium foods like chips, crackers, and canned soups. And then fried foods, sugary beverages, alcohol, especially in excess, processed cheese, and pickled foods. These are things that we want to minimize, or if we can, eradicate it out of our diets or our nutritional plan altogether. Because remember what I mentioned to you, for instance, about when it comes down to high salt foods. Remember that when we have the estrogen is no longer, is much lower, which helps to regulate our salt balance. At a certain age now, if we're eating this type of food, the regulation of the balance is off because the estrogen is not there. So what do you think is going to happen? It's going to affect your blood pressure and it's going to bring it up. So that's why these are things that you need to either minimize or stay away from altogether, especially if your pressure is running hot pretty often. You want to get it stabilized before you start talking about eating these foods again. So what are foods that are great that we can take back our plate? Taking back our plate means no matter what we're going through, there's a nutritional value that can either prevent, possibly eradicate, or even stabilize through nutrition. Nutrition, guys, is so very important. It can either help to make us extremely healthy, or it can help to make us extremely unhealthy. So it just all depends on how you take back your plate. Okay? So women respond especially well to mineral-rich foods when it comes down to having hypertension, or prevention of the hypertension. So we want to do magnesium-rich foods, which is like also dark leafy greens and pumpkin seeds and avocados. We want to do potassium-rich foods, which are bananas, cucumbers, sweet potatoes, beans, and coconut water. We want to do nutrient-rich type foods. Okay? And what is that? Nutrient-rich foods? Can you take a guess? I like to play with you guys. So that's actually beets, arugula, spinach. We want to do anti-inflammatory type foods, which is berries, salmon, turmeric, and olive oil. And also additional helpers like garlic, hibiscus tea, and oats. Good stuff there. Good stuff there. But those are the type of things that we want to do. If we have a history in our family of hypertension, and we have had hypertension throughout our life from time to time, sometimes we have it, sometimes it goes away because we change our lifestyle, and then sometimes it comes back. These are the things that we want to do for prevention to help stabilize or possibly even eradicate all together. Now, there are some supplements that can help with high blood pressure. I like to always bring that out because that's important too. Okay? But you know what I'm about to tell you. If you're taking medication for high blood pressure, you want to be careful about some of the supplements that you're taking. You want to first check with your healthcare provider to make sure that it's something that you can take. It is not something that's going to affect the medication that you're taking. Because again, when you're taking medication and sometimes some supplements, or even if it's herbs, it can actually affect the medication. It can either increase the effectiveness of the medication, which you don't want that to be the case. You don't want to overly dose yourself, or it can decrease it and prevent it from working altogether. So I'm always very careful to make sure you guys are careful when you're taking certain type of medications. And high blood pressure or hypertensive medicine tends to react, depending upon which one you're taking, to certain supplements and also herbs. So that's why it's important to take a look first before you can. But if you can take it, you want to do magnesium. So magnesium glycinate, that is something that you want to take a look at taking. Potassium. Now, only if it doesn't contradict with any kind of medication that is affecting your kidney function. Okay? Omega-3 fish oil. You hear me talk about that all the time. And then CQ10 is also another good one. Garlic extract. Perfect. Because that's something, garlic. Increase your garlic in your food. Because garlic actually helps to lower your blood pressure. Okay? Beetroot powder or capsules is another great thing. Vitamin D, especially post-menopause. Hawthorn berry. Now, actually, the hawthorn berry actually helps with vascular support. Okay? But again, you want to make sure that you can do that because it could definitely affect the medication that you're taking. Okay, ladies. Now, stress. How does stress really affect with when you have hypertension? What exactly is it doing? As I mentioned earlier, stress is a huge, huge thing for women. And that's due to what? Our cortisol surges that we have, right? Because we're stressed out, we internalize our stress, so our cortisol surges. Emotional labor, okay? Just emotionally, you're tired, you're drained, you're going to work, you're working hours and hours a day on a week, right? You're picking up the children, you're taking care of the food at the house and the husband and everything all between, even to the little dog. You're emotionally labored out, okay? And that makes us stressed. And that also leads to possible hypertension. Overlapping roles, like I just mentioned, motherhood, caregiving, work demands. Okay? Because we tend to have all of these things going on at one time. And that causes us to be stressed. Hormone sensitivity. Okay? When our hormones are all off, again, it raises, and if we're under a lot of stress, it raises our cortisol levels, which can cause other things to happen, right? Which definitely can bring on hypertension. So with all of that happening, it will start to affect, it actually starts to tighten our arteries. It raises our heart rate. It leads to emotional eating and possibly even alcohol intake. It disrupts our sleep. It makes it worse, which actually makes it worsen to have high blood pressure when your sleep is not good. So if you're just sleeping 1 or 2 hours a night, that's not a good thing. You should be getting at least 8, maybe at the high end 10, but 8 to 9 hours a night of sleep is what your body needs to rebuild itself, to recharge itself, right? So mind-body practices work incredibly well for women. So like yoga, breath work, dance, journaling, therapy, and nature walks. These are things that we need. These are things that we need, ladies, so that we don't have to deal with having so many problems with having high blood pressure. And high blood pressure, like I said, it is, unfortunately, it is a very popular thing amongst us. And when I don't mean to say it like it's a dance, a popular dance, but it's something that a lot of women struggle with. Now, again, men do too, but we're not talking about men today. We're talking about us ladies, like we always do. So we have to get it together. We have to get a hold of our stress levels. We have to say no sometime, even if it has to be to our job. Sometimes some women work so hard on their jobs, they're pulling in maybe 80 hours a week. Sometimes you have to say, I can't do it, right? You have to be a little selfish for yourself and for your health, right? Because we're not, as women, we're not built to take on so much of that. Men can do that because they're built that way. And of course, they have their breaking point too. But our breaking point is much sooner than theirs. So that's why I wanted to really hone in on this particular topic of hypertension, which is high blood pressure, because it's a silent killer and it's something that we as women experience. And if we're going through menopause and we've finished our menopausal and we're after that, we must know that we're now going to experience a higher percentage of getting hypertension because all the things that I just mentioned. Okay? So now, as usual, I have a gift for you. This will be our blood pressure friendly juice that, again, I try to always give you a juice recipe in correlation to what we're talking about. So why do I do that? So that you can start right away. With starting a program for yourself. And you don't have to flip through 1,000 books to figure out what's going to work. Start right away. So, with that being said, we're going to start with this friendly juice to help us. So we want to go ahead and include for this juice 1 medium beet. Okay. We want to do a half cucumber, 1 apple, green preferred, 1 handful of spinach, a half lemon peeled, a half inch of fresh ginger, and 1 cup of coconut water. Now, why does this particular juice help us? First of all, the beets provide natural nutrients. It improves the blood vessel dilation. The spinach adds the magnesium that we talked about earlier. The coconut water helps to boost the potassium. And the ginger helps in circulation. The lemon supports detox pathways. Okay? You want to go ahead and blend all of this together. And you want to enjoy this juice at least 3 to 4 times a week. You want to drink it preferably in the morning on an empty stomach. So those juices and the cells work together and get everything flowing, get you feeling healthy, and help to lower, prevent, or eradicate possibly having high blood pressure. Okay, ladies. So we talked a lot of good stuff today about a very important topic, which is hypertension, better also known as high blood pressure. We talked about when we go to a doctor, what to expect, as I always talk about that, because sometimes you do have to go to a doctor. And you want to know ahead of time what to expect, what type of testings they're going to do, so this way there are no surprises. Okay? We talked about some of the treatments that the doctors would do. Everything from the ACE inhibitors on down to the most important thing, or numero uno, is lifestyle. It's lifestyle changes. We talked about how the correlation between hormones and hypertension and what does that do? Why is that important? And there is quite a huge correlation, right? We talked about that. We also talked about the right foods to eat, how we can take back our plate with the right foods. And we talked about the foods that we need to move the plate away from. We talked about that as well. We talked about the symptoms of hypertension because, again, it's a silent killer. And we also talked about some women sometimes don't experience any symptoms but can have hypertension. We talked about some supplements that is really good to take that can help with this. And we want to make sure that we see a doctor to make sure he determines we can take the supplement. We also talked about some of the best exercises that we can do and some that we need to be careful from, especially if we're not stabilized with our blood pressure. We don't want to add any extra strain to our heart. So we covered some really, really good topics. And like I said, guys, we also talked about the statistics, right? The statistics say that we have to be careful because is a high percentage of us that have it or about to get it. So like I said, guys, it's very important that we pay attention to our bodies. Pay attention, okay? And if we suspect anything, and if we're monitoring our blood pressure because of our history of our family at home, we want to keep those records so we can give it to the doctor so he can determine too what's happening. Is it a one-time incident that your pressure went up, or is it something that you actually are having? This is so very important, guys. Very important, okay? Please make sure you share this episode. If you haven't shared any of my episodes before, share this one, because so many women have hypertension or about to get it. They are a pre-hypertension person or they have it already pretty high blood pressure already. So many. So many. And some have it and don't even know. So you want to share this particular podcast, this particular episode for sure. Okay? All right, ladies. So we've come to that time of separation. Until next week. You know, but I always say your health is your wealth, because no matter how much money you have, if your health is not in order, it's not going to matter, right? So we want to take care of our health first. Take care of us first. Be a little selfish sometimes. Say no sometimes. It's okay. It's okay. They'll be okay. We want to do that, right? And we also know that wellness is not a focus, but it's a lifestyle. I think that throughout the episodes and the different problems that we talked about that women have, chronic conditions or acute conditions that they may have, lifestyle plays a huge role for us, right? More so than anybody. It plays a huge role. So we want to definitely know that our nutrition is a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. And it's not something that we can say, okay, I'm just going to eat nice and good for a week, maybe a month, and that's it. I'm going to go back to my old ways. No, we want to go ahead and continue that journey throughout our lifestyle. And it doesn't always have to be that we don't sometimes have a piece of cake or a piece of pie or a little ice cream. It's okay. We can do that, because I'm surely not going to tell you to never do that. That's crazy. That makes no sense. The goal is balance and moderation. That's what I talk about. And if you're making lifestyle nutrition changes, you will know that, yeah, sometimes I'll have this, but a lot of times I may not. Okay? Make sure that you share this podcast. Please make sure that you like the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, because it helps with the algorithms and it helps me to keep going out there. So I'm not talking to the walls. I'm talking to actual people. So please, guys, make sure you do that for me. That would be great. And if you're looking for a partnership, an accountability partner with someone who also happens to be a functional nutritionist that can get to the bottom line of your health through over 200 specialized panels dealing with genetics, dealing with your own unique DNA code, right? Also, I provide supplements that are practitioner based. And another thing that I'm just adding is customized supplements for my clients. How about that? So let's say that you took one of my micronutrient testings, and let's say that you're deficient in A and in vitamin D, but everything else you have in order, right? Well, you need more attention on vitamin A and D. And that's kind of hard if you're taking a regular multivitamin. But with me now in this new program that I have, I can actually have it customized just for you. So we take out the stuff that you don't have to regulate because you're already good there, and we add in the stuff that you need. So if I'm using an example, if it's vitamin A and vitamin D, you would just take the supplements of vitamin A and vitamin D. It'll actually be in a pill form for you to take so that you can have that customized program that actually is going to affect, or not so much affect, but really break down the needs of your body, the needs of what you need. Okay? Because everything that I do is customized. Even to the meal planning is all customized. So now I'm happy to announce that I also have customized supplements. I'm so excited about it, guys. I try to have any and everything for you to be on the most healthiest track than ever. So if you're looking for all of that good stuff that I just talked about, you want to go to www.nutritionudesign.com. You want to book a functional wellness session consultation with me so that we can talk about getting you healthy again. Taking these different type of specialized testings that I offer, which is amazing testings that I offer to help you to get back to you. Get back to being a little selfish sometimes and taking care of your health. And never, ever, ever put a price tag on your health, ladies. Never do that. Because if you're not here for yourself, then how can you be the best wife, the best mother, the best sister? How can you be that way if you put a price tag on your health, right? So you want to be here so that you can enjoy them. So make sure you go to www.nutritionudesign.com and book that functional wellness consultation with me so that we can get started on a complete customized plan just for you. All right, I think I've covered it all, ladies. I've enjoyed you today, and I hope again that you subscribe and that you like and share so that we can keep this going. Until next time, continue to do your thing and be blessed.